Sadiq Khan is being accused of providing false and misleading information to the London Assembly about the expansion of London's ultra-low emission zone. The Conservatives claim the mayor was secretly briefed on the results of the public consultation back in September, 2 months before they were announced. Political correspondent Simon Harris is here with me now. Simon, what exactly is the mayor being accused of?
Well, Sadiq Khan announced in November that he was going ahead with his plan to extend the ultra-low emission zone to cover all of Greater London. That followed a controversial public consultation which critics say he manipulated. Well, now Conservatives are accusing the mayor of making false statements to the London Assembly about the consultation, in particular at a meeting in October.
Can I ask, have you seen or been briefed on the results of the consultation?
No, I haven't.
The Tories at City Hall say they've uncovered documents which prove the mayor was being dishonest.
There's a document on the 29th of September which says on the front cover, Mayor's briefing about the results of the ULEZ consultation. So the Mayor was briefed on the ULEZ results, the ULEZ consultation results. We then asked him at Mayor's Question Time a few weeks later on the 13th of October, were you briefed on the ULEZ consultation results? He said he wasn't. That wasn't true.
On a visit to a building site in East London, the Mayor insisted today that the public consultation process was properly followed.
This is desperate, pathetic stuff from the Tories to hide their embarrassment at opposing our policies to clean up the air in London. They've been consistent in their opposition to our policies to clean up the air. I think it's a scandal that every year thousands of Londoners die prematurely because of the poor quality air. A vast majority of those in outer London. I don't apologise for having policies to clean up the air.
Now, that might all sound like political argy-bargy, but it could be important because if it could be proved that the mayor or officials at City Hall didn't follow the process correctly, then that would provide ammunition to those out of boroughs in Greater London, particularly Conservative authorities, which are seriously considering whether to launch a legal challenge to try to stop the expansion of the ultra-low emission zone, which is due to take place in August.
OK, Simon, thank you.
Well, our political correspondent Simon Harris joins us now. And Simon, you broke the news about these rises last week. The government's now got involved, but Londoners are stuck in the middle of a political row again.
And it is very much a political row, with Sadiq Khan blaming the government for not giving him enough money to pay for the police and saying he had no choice but to mirror the national rail fares increase of 5.9%, or TfL would have had money taken away from it. It certainly angered the Conservatives, as we heard there. They accused the mayor of hitting some Londoners, not with a double whammy, but a triple whammy. Increased fares, higher council tax bills, and, of course, the expansion of the ULEZ coming in August. But it's not just the Tories who are angry. The Greens are unhappy that the basic bus fare has been increased by 10 pence. They wonder how long it'll be before it's at £2. And they're also annoyed that the free travel for the over 60s before 9 a.m, which was taken away before COVID, isn't being reinstated. But frankly, there's nothing any of the opposition parties at City Hall can do about it. There aren't enough of them to block the mayor's money, the mayor's budget. So in effect, what was announced today is a done deal.
Oh dear. OK, thanks very much indeed, Simon.
Next tonight, 12 months ago, Neil Coyle was the Labour MP for Bermondsey and Old Southwark. Today, he sits as an independent after losing his party's whip. He's being investigated by Parliament after allegedly making racist remarks to a journalist with British Chinese heritage in a Commons bar. He's been speaking to our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
How much can you tell us about what happened on the night? What do you remember?
Well, I remember all of it, but the process that Parliament's adopted for investigations requires me not to speak to journalists about the investigation. So because the investigation hasn't concluded, I would be breaching a confidentiality agreement that I have signed if I spoke to you about the specifics of the investigation.
But what you can talk about is what has happened to you personally.
On a personal level, and don't get me wrong, look, I fully accept that at that time there were elements of my behaviour that were problematic, and some of the language I used was unacceptable, and alcohol was a factor in that, but alcohol is not an excuse for poor standards or behaviour, and it's absolutely right and proper. There's investigation into all of the circumstances.
But you've acknowledged that you have an issue with drink.
Almost a year in, I'm more able to talk about this than I would have been even at the time. So I stopped drinking on the 1st of March last year. I had to stagger down my drinking, for want of a better word, because of the volume that it was at.
How much were you drinking?
So, 200 units a week, and I was
14 is the recommended level.
Yeah. So I was multiple times what was considered wise healthily. The habitual drinking after work that I'd never been a day drinker, and the public perception of the alcoholic, someone who's got
But did Parliament contribute to your ability to drink that much?
Yes, because it's everywhere within Westminster, but also in previous years I always lost weight and drank less when Parliament wasn't sitting. Always.
How concerned should voters be about the drinking culture in Parliament?
I think it is problematic.
Do you know many other heavy drinkers in Parliament, other fellow MPs?
Of course. There are people who, even at the time, I got myself into trouble, there were others drinking more than me. My casework volumes are very, very high. I and my team bust the gut in Bermondsey and Old Southwark. I
wanted to ask you that. Did your drinking affect your ability as a constituency MP? Did you let your constituents down?
There is more I could have done as an MP, and I wish I could get that time back. But, I'm resolute now that I will use my time better going forward.
Well, there'll be more of that interview on the Late Debate this evening. Here's Look Ahead with Simon.
On the Late Debate tonight, we'll also discuss the growing row over Sadiq Khan's plans to extend the ultra-low emission zone. The drive to clean up London's air has led to a boom in electric car sales. One council is offering electric car drivers parking discounts. But the enthusiasm for ULEZ isn't shared in some outer London boroughs, where some councils are considering a legal challenge to the mayor's plans. In the week of a record council tax rise, higher fares on public transport and another shameful episode for the Met, we've got plenty to talk about on the Late Debate here on ITV1 after news at 10.